said, somebody very close to the President of the United States is asking me to ask you to stop talking about Brigitte's penis, and laughed at them. Like, if someone was working on a story saying that I lived as a man for 30 years, I don't need to lawyer up. I want you to publish that story so that I can then come out and say, this person is a psychopath. If you don't stand up to the demons, those demons are only going to grow more powerful.
That's right.
And your children are going to be the ones that suffer it.
What is up, guys? Today, I just saved you over 2 full hours of watching a massive broadcast, and instead, I brought you the most insane, politically explosive, and jaw-dropping moments from the entire interview. Candace Owens just sat down with Tucker Carlson, and what she exposed has completely broken the internet. We are talking about top-level international diplomacy reaching a total boiling point, an entire European government mobilizing its legal system to hide school records, and a final dark warning about how modern society is being controlled through fear. Let's clip right into how this absolute madness started. But before we do you believe a world leader would actually use a war summit to talk about a podcast? Drop your thoughts below and check this out.
In terms of watching what he watches, but
he must have been completely confused.
He sounded very confused. He said he was very confused when the leader of France took him aside.
A nuclear-armed country.
During negotiations for Ukraine and Russia to inquire about whether or not he knew Candace Owens. And clearly it was an emergency, because it wasn't like Trump called me 2 days after or a week after. It wasn't like a side conversation that, oh, let's take care of that. I was messaged by the intermediary hours after Macron left, maybe even an hour after Macron had left, and said, like, we need to get on the phone with you.
The President of the United States.
Well, first, the person said, somebody very close to the President of the United States is asking me to ask you to stop talking about Brigitte's penis. And
This is the true face of diplomacy. I love it.
True face of diplomacy. And I laughed because I said, okay, no, bye. This seems ridiculous. I kind of questioned whether or not it was even true. But I like the person who called me very much. And I thought maybe I was being a bit short there because I'm 9 months pregnant, and I was at the time, I think 5 or 6 months pregnant. And I tend to get short the more pregnant I become. And so I called him back and I just said, can you explain to me what's really going on? And that individual told me that it was presented to him as a condition of ending the Russian-Ukrainian war. Like, this was something that he brought up in the midst of these negotiations. That's how it was presented to me from a third-party person. And then I was just completely floored. And I just took a second, looked at my husband, and the first thing we said to one another is, no one will ever believe us. Right. Like, this is beyond the realm of things that could be plausible. They're going to think I'm making this up and I'm lying. And even when I did eventually tell the story months later, people were like, there's no way that this could have happened. But
so what is he suing you over? What does the suit claim?
Well, it claims a lot. It's 200 pages.
200 pages.
200 pages. And what's really interesting is my series was based on a book. I worked with Xavier Poussard, who is a journalist, a very credible journalist in France, who worked on the story for 8 years and ended up having to move his family to Italy because of what Brigitte and her husband, France is a whole different political system.
Certainly is.
And they can just bring charges against you.
It's an authoritarian country run completely by Macron. And they pretend that's not true, but it is true.
It is 1,000% true. And so journalists that first got wise to the fact that Brigitte Macron kind of didn't exist for 30 years of her life were harassed by the government. They filed charges against them for, first and foremost, invasion of privacy. So there was never a dispute when she was bringing these charges about. She never brought a charge against people for saying that she was born a man. And that's what should be made clear to everybody. Like, that's not something that they ever say is not true when it comes down to the legality of it all, when they get into courtrooms. But they first sued for invasion of privacy. Then they sued for defamation regarding a statement, an error that the woman had made investigating when she said, in my opinion, this document is fake. But that document actually was real. It was a birth certificate relating to somebody in the story. And so it was remarkably petty. And this is what they do. They get very legalistic. We'll keep you in the courtroom. We'll harass you. And for Xavier, things were happening where they wanted him to know that they were following him, yes, and that the Secret Service was keeping an eye on him.
They ever provided that evidence to anybody?
No, that's the point. They haven't.
To this day.
They would have never had to sue anybody because everyone would have then laughed at them. Like, if someone was working on a story saying that I lived as a man for 30 years, I don't need to lawyer up. I want you to publish that story so that I can then come out and say, this person is a psychopath. Clearly, here is the trove of me growing up with my sisters. Here's my middle school yearbook. To the contrary, even when Xavier Poussard, because he has been working on this for 10 years and therefore filing paperwork with the government to get pictures, Jean-Michel Tragneau has a military file. He also filed to get Brigitte's school yearbook, where she allegedly has a picture, and he won that case and then took it to Sacre-Cœur, which is Sacred Heart, and they said, we're not releasing it. I don't care if you won the case. We're refusing to release this to you. So in every regard, something that would be able to dispel this rumor, even her children, where are your kids in this? If that's my mom and she's so attacked and it's so horrifying that she's got to put, my dad, stepdad on a plane to go speak to the president of the United States, way before then, I would have released pictures of me and my mom. Her kids are all adults. I would have said, here's me and my mom growing up on my first birthday, my second birthday. Please, everyone, leave her alone. They won't do it. It's bonkers to think.
Have the kids spoken in public?
Only one child has ever spoken and called the rumors crazy and upsetting, and that's her youngest daughter, Tefan. And I have a theory about why that is, but again, there's no evidence to supply. Tefan won't go under oath. Tefan won't speak. Tefan won't say, oh no, she just says it's very hurtful and it's not true. And okay, Tefan, well, you have the power to dispel this by just releasing some photos of you growing up. You're a 40-year-old lawyer. It's pretty simple to release some photos of you as a kid with your mom, and they won't do it.
Here's a revealing and unpleasant fact. Mexico is facing a dangerous outbreak of New World screwworm. Ugh. Screwworm is a flesh-eating parasite. It's devastating to livestock and to humans. Ugh. Despite this, the Department of Agriculture has reopened foreign livestock imports, including from Mexico. Does that sound wrong to you? Does it sound revolting? Well, yeah.
If you think I care about a headline, I couldn't care less about a headline. You're going to try to get me canceled from speaking at an event. Like, okay, they're probably serving rubber chicken anyways. If that goes through, great, amazing. And that's not going to be enough of a threat for me to give up speaking truth because, and this is the part that I really want to get to because it's super important for people to hear this. I'm encouraged when people say that I give them the courage, right? That's the greatest thing. That's the greatest compliment that I can receive, that they were quiet about something and now they are vocal about it because they realize it matters. Our children are going to inherit the world that we allow them to inherit. So if we decide to become creatures of, pleasure and creatures of social media and creatures of a lack of focus and ultimately creatures of fear and cowardice, they will inherit the world, right? That we've left behind for them. It's so important to stand up for what's right because your children, if you don't stand up to the demons, those demons are only going to grow more powerful.
That's right.
And your children are going to be the ones that suffer it, right? So the question is, do you care enough about it to protect your children? To moms and dads, right? When you say, I didn't say the thing, so I just went along with the COVID thing, you would allow them to poison your kids? Like, because you were just scared to say something? And again, because we live in a society of pleasure and we live in the society, everything's so momentary and social media and a distraction, we've actually become a very weakened species. Like, I am so driven by who my grandfather was. I always say this. People are like, what's up with this girl? Why is she so happy? I say, my grandfather blessed me. He spoiled me. And I just looked at him as such a man, like truly what it means like to embody faith. His family, it was all that he cared about, faith, family. And he could look you in the eye and do a deal on a handshake, right? If he said he was going to be there, he was going to be there. If he said he wasn't going to be, he was going to do this, he was going to do that, We need to go back to that. We've lost that in this society. Everyone's so deceptive and sneaky and they don't say what they mean. And there's contracts and they're tricky contracts and everyone's leaking stuff to the press. It's have some respect, for yourself and for your family to be a better person and to speak up when something is wrong.
Amen. I can't improve on that. Candace Owens, thank you.
Thank you so much.
For taking all this time and congratulations. I think that your example, even if people disagree with you, I think they have to say.
Unbelievable when an entire state apparatus, its legal teams, and its institutions are mobilized to block school yearbooks and target podcasters. It tells you everything you need to know. They aren't trying to fight a lie. They are desperately scrambling to bury a truth. This is the absolute state of global elite control right now. Did Macron's aggressive legal move completely expose the secret he wanted to hide? Drop a 100 in the comments if you agree. We just witnessed top-level political intimidation and pure international overreach exposed in under 15 minutes. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and make sure to hit that subscribe and follow button right now so you never miss these fast-paced, uncensored edits. I will see you guys in the next video.